Hello everyone, this is Conflict of Nations. I'm playing as South Korea at the world map. Almost every other country is another player. Let's see how far we can get. South Korea only starts with 6 cities and not a lot of territory. I'm currently ranking 16. I have 1.22 kill-death ratio. I have played 8 games and won 1. So I immediately researched basic infantry, corvettes, and air superiority fighters. Next, I decided to build arms industries in my cities and start deploying and building up some troops. Checked out the news articles which people were posting. There was a lot of weird things on there. I didn't quite understand it, and I think it's mostly kids on there, so I just let it be and moved on. The last thing I did was to trade in some cash for research. I ended the day and went to bed. The next day I woke up, Japan had attacked me. So Japan attacked me and took over Busan, which is really bad for me because Busan produces my research, and I don't have any research. I put in my troops and pulled them closer to Busan. Built more troops and a corvette, checked the events log, and saw that Japan lost a lot of units trying to attack me. I shipped some units overseas to Busan, but then I changed my mind and decided to attack Japan instead. I checked his 5 units in Busan and sent in my fighter, but after careful consideration, I decided to not engage. Instead, I decided to take the corvette that I recently built and bring it to Busan to attack the units there. I sent another unit to Sapporo, and now I have almost 5 cities captured from Japan. It's already looking like I'm gonna win this conflict, but the war isn't over yet. I decided to send another unit to Osaka and then another unit to Tokyo to make sure the job is finished. Japan had already built an airbase in Sapporo. I used this to fly over another unit to take over Hokkaido. Japan is almost finished. Now I can build up my cities and focus on other players. Last episode, Japan attacked us and took Busan. We took Japan's cities and now we won the war. But Japan still has Busan with a fair amount of force. But I'm gonna send more units around Japan to capture the rest of the islands. I have now got 2 new corvettes, which I immediately sent to attack the units in Busan. Looking through the events log, I found out China declared war on me. I was super surprised and immediately sent my corvettes to attack China. I also deployed a couple troops to the north, where the land border is with China. I sent 1 corvette to Shanghai and another one to Beijing. This is probably a good time to mention that I know that I'm playing as United Korea and not as South Korea. I'm saying South Korea due to the chosen flag. We're now almost finished with Japan, and China took one of our cities. China isn't that powerful, but it's part of a really good coalition, together with India and Pakistan. After the war with Japan, I lost quite a few soldiers. But luckily, my navy was still on top. I used my superior navy to bombard China's cities. China peaced out after taking one of my cities, but I'm not gonna let them finish like that. I sent in my corvettes. After building some more arms industries, corvettes, and soldiers, I was ready to attack more. I used a small group of soldiers to take back my city in the north of Korea. When their soldiers came back to attack my city, I used my fighters and my corvette to destroy them. It seems like China won't be a problem. Let's hope India and Pakistan won't mind. I also declared war on Russia to take Vladivostok. Most of Russia was destroyed by Mongolia anyway. There was some rebellion in Chinese territories that I conquered, but I crushed those eventually. China still has some forces left, but I'm not really worried about them. What I'm more worried about is the coalition that China is in, with India and Pakistan, but it looks like India had other plans. They asked me to join their coalition, and after I ignored it, they declared war on me. I decided to play them, said okay, and to get rid of China from their coalition and ask for peace. India signed for peace, and then asked me nicely to join their coalition. Because they asked me nicely, I decided to join it. Being in a coalition with India will significantly increase our chances of winning, and I'll make sure China is kicked from the coalition. India is the leader of this coalition. Previously, there was Pakistan in it, but it seems like I'm replacing Pakistan. This is the first time I'm not at war with anyone since the first part of the series. I decided to take this opportunity to regroup my forces. I messaged with India, and we both agreed that China should be kicked from the coalition. China will be kicked eventually, which is around in 3 days in game time. China said their goodbyes in the group chat. India and I are one of the top in the world, making our coalition one of the best in the world. We started planning for the future, including a 3rd member. I had some rebel problems in East China, but luckily my corvettes helped to assist. There are no longer any immediate threats to my existence. However, the world is small, round, and we need to focus on trying to conquer the world. I'm getting ready to attack the Philippines. I sent in my corvettes, but the Philippines seem to have a good navy as well. We exchanged some blows, and eventually Philippines messaged me. They asked for peace and I agreed. Apparently they're friends with India. The Philippines are quite strong, so I'm happy I don't have to fight them. China has now been kicked from the coalition, so now I'm at war with China again, trying to take all of their land. I use my air superiority fighters to airstrike Chinese troops. I am a lot stronger than China, but my problem is that I have very few troops left after all the wars I fought. I messaged the Philippines a bit, but they didn't seem very friendly. I decided to prepare for a naval attack again and started building better ships. I used my resources to annex cities. That way I have more resources in the future. That way I will be able to destroy the Philippines in the future if needed. China is ours. We are now cleaning up the rest of the territories. I used the research we gathered to upgrade our ships and land units. I messaged India in a bit and we discussed about the Philippines. We decided that the Philippines were decent but not worth joining. However, our other ally Mongolia is also inactive. After a discussion, we decided that the Philippines were probably better than Mongolia. We kicked Mongolia, and I also took Guam. I also started annexing more cities in Japan. But then something strange happened. India messaged me and said they will join the coalition of Australia and leave the coalition that they created. That is really weird to me. I didn't quite understand it and I was quite confused. But nevertheless, India left and I decided to leave as well. Instead, I decided to create my own faction and my own coalition, calling it the Shipyard Vanguard. As per usual, we were scheming with India to discuss plans to conquer the world. Mongolia is inactive, Australia and New Zealand are not friendly, and they're actually attacking the Philippines right now. The Philippines asked me for help, but it was already too late. Most of the Philippines' forces were already destroyed, and I had no choice but to let Australia and New Zealand defeat the Philippines. However, I decided to take some for myself as well. I felt bad for the Philippines, but victory has to be achieved. A race started between Australia, New Zealand and me to try to see who can conquer the most lands. This will be very significant, and it's very important that we can get more land than them in order to achieve a victory against them in the future. Seems like their navy is actually better than mine. Tough times are to come. In the last parts, Australia and New Zealand attacked the Philippines, and we attacked the Philippines as well to try to conquer some of the land. We are in our own coalition, but we're still good friends with India. I messaged India and convinced them to join my coalition. They agreed. This is really good. India has a very good force, but it's mostly in the west. Their home territories are not prepared for a coastal invasion from New Zealand or Australia, and they don't have a very good navy. As discussed, they sent their navy to assist me. I told them to keep their navy by their home territories. Our coalition is really strong, and we have room for a third, so I messaged New Zealand to try my luck. I cleaned up the rest of Philippines' territories and tried my best to get as much as I could. After some time, New Zealand replied. They were suspicious at first, but after some talking, they agreed to join the coalition. My fleet is now stronger, and New Zealand left Australia's coalition, but then Australia attacked me. Get the fleet ready! And I'm ready to attack Australia. I sent in my navy and went to bed. The next day I woke up, my navy was destroyed. I started researching missiles in hopes of defeating Australia using my research. New Zealand has a good navy, but they're not sending it in against Australia. And now Australia is attacking Seoul, my capital. I sent in all the ships I had left near my home territories and tried to get the troops out that were being bombarded. The ships were sadly destroyed. I researched strike fighters. I now had only 2 corvettes left. In the last dying attempt, I sent in aid troops to an Indonesian island conquered by Australia. I used fighters to defend my territory from troops. Australia is sending units to take over Seoul. Now I'm sending mine to defend the territory. Australia is using ships to bombard Seoul, and my units perish. Seoul has been taken. Is this the end? Pretty much our entire navy is destroyed. And here in Japan I only have 2 units which I can send to back up our capital cities. Our air superiority fighters are also coming in really handy, as we can use it to bombard their troops from the skies. We've taken Kalimantan from Australia, and our units are engaging their units in Seoul, using the air superiority fighters for air support. We have destroyed Australia's units in Seoul. We are taking back our capital, and I'm rushing my troops to retake Pyongyang from Australia. Because our capital was taken before, we have lots of rebel problems, even in our home city, Gwangju. But most importantly, we were able to deflect Australia's invasion. And now, New Zealand has come to join the fight, attacking Australia's navy. The war is turning in our favor. It looks like we still have a shot at winning this game. And right now, India wants to attack Kenya because Kenya is the strongest, but we're still at war with Australia. New Zealand's navy is really helping in the war against Australia. Now looking what we're gonna do after Australia, I checked out the coalition. It looks like the strongest coalition is NATO, who is at war with Kenya right now. I messaged India. However, India was determined to attack Kenya because India thought that Kenya is still really strong. But now, Brazil and Argentina are taking over, and in the end, India agreed to attack NATO, send their navy and troops over the Pacific Ocean. To prepare for the war, I got a naval officer. This will make my navy a lot stronger. Kenya is out of the game. Now it's just us and NATO. A final showdown, World War. Our allies India and New Zealand are sending their navy and units over the Pacific to attack Peru and Argentina. NATO is the only competition left in this game, and we have to make sure to destroy them. I sent in my entire force and my entire navy because NATO is winning this game, which I can't let happen. The units are disembarking. I'm sending them into the mainland to take as many cities as possible, and I'm sending my main fleet over to Brazil to destroy their ports. It seems like NATO was not prepared for such an attack from us. Most of their cities are left unattended. The invasion is in full effect, and India's nukes are doing good work. Argentina has finally brought backup and destroyed pretty much all of my units in the south. However, this has given me enough time to build an airbase in the north, and now I'm able to fly my backup in. Let's go, soldiers! They have nuked our city Kochi, but we're taking over all of their territory now. I'm sending my troops to take as much land as quickly as possible, and I'm using my fighters and strike fighters to bomb any soldiers and to squash the rebellions. We've taken over almost the entirety of South America, and we have taken so much territory that it's putting us into first place even before India. Coalition host shield, comprising of the Baltic states, Ukraine and Turkey, are also quite strong, so we have to make sure that everything is under control. I have a constant supply of units coming in from Korea, flying into the airport in South America, and my navy is doing good work together with my planes. Now soldiers, go to the comment section, what kind of content do you prefer? Meanwhile, I will continue to destroy NATO and fight for victory. Like for more. Soldiers, welcome to part 16 of Conflict of Nations, a South Korea game. We're playing against the world as part of Shipyard Vanguard. We completely destroyed NATO and we took over South America. Now I'm taking over the Caribbeans. To strengthen my land units, I started researching main battle tanks, and I also sent my units to the United States to finish taking over the territories of NATO. However, then I realized that the Baltic states were now at first place. I sent a main fleet to their territories to check it out, and their helicopters stalked them. Their navy was weak, so I destroyed them and started bombing their cities. I also sent reinforcements and some units, but then many of my cities started rebelling, and I realized it wasn't worth fighting. I was fighting too many wars at the same time, and the Baltics were bombing my units heavily. My reinforcements were simply too far away, and my morale was plummeting. I decided to stop the conflict, so I messaged the Baltics to ask for peace, and luckily they agreed. We ended the war and my morale stabilized, but then my friend Spain messaged me and asked me to go back to war against the Baltics. I guess there will be a round 2 soon. Shipyard Vanguard has taken over half the world, and we were able to crush all the insurgents. India nuked Vilnius, which is a sign that it's time to go back to war against host shield. As I previously significantly weakened the Baltic states, I decided to go for Turkey. I declared war against Turkey and the Baltic states. Host shield is going to go down. I easily destroyed their navy. I sent in more reinforcements to capture the territory, including 8 new main battle tanks I built. I started taking Turkey's cities with ease. India took the Baltic home cities, but then India messaged me saying that they need some backup, so I sent in my ships to the Baltics as well. I destroyed the Baltics navy, and now the morale is completely gone, having all of their cities rioting. I successfully secured Turkey, and I'm sending in more units to attack from Iran. Shipyard Vanguard is on its way to victory. It's only a matter of time now. Soldiers, welcome to part 18 of Conflict of Nations South Korea game. Shipyard Vanguard is taking over the world, and now we are invading Turkey, destroying host shield and the Baltic states. We have successfully destroyed all the competition, but now most of my cities are rioting because of my low morale. India is now in first place, but I'm happy with that, as India and I are in the same coalition. I had my final chat with India, and at midnight the game was complete. Shipyard Vanguard has won, and I got second place. India got first, Kenya got third, and New Zealand got fourth, followed by Spain as fifth. By the end of the game, the rebellions have gotten crazy. I'm kind of happy the game has ended the way it did. I did not want to deal with all those rebellions. And I'm also happy for India to finish first. I am now ranked 23, and out of the 8 games that I've played, I've now won 2. If you want to join my alliance, come and apply. Like for more content.